Alright, hello people and welcome back. Good. So let's just have a little quick review of my character and some changes that maybe I have made since the last time I went over my character. So I am currently with the Legacy of Dreams Ancient Legendary setup. And I'm not sure whether it's the best setup or not, but this is more or less the same exact setup that I had last season, and it seemed to work pretty well. Some minor differences between some of the other builds that I've seen out there with this, basically this idea. The main idea is Carnival with the Dagger of Darts and with the passive skill Fetish Sycophants. So you're creating these Fetish Sycophants, and when you shoot out a poison dart, okay, which I've got here, up to 10 of yours will also shoot out a poison dart. And they are pretty powerful depending upon how you set them up. Depending upon what items that you have. But also the Dagger of Darts boosts up the damage 500%. And that's the main offensive power of this build. Everything in this build more or less needs to contribute towards that theme, or be something more on the idea of a defensive nature, or maybe just something that's otherwise useful. I've tried adding in other things to do some damage alongside this. For instance, I tried Spite with the Gargantuan and the Short Man's Finger, but just didn't do any kind of good damage. Sorry. Compared to the Poison Dart Carnival setup. So, you know, I've just learned from experience that everything's got to be either towards that particular attack or something more or less defensive. So, my two primary defensive things, other than the 4% damage reduction that I have for each of my ancient items. I've got this Aquiloquirus, while above 90% resource. While above 90% resource, my damage is reduced by 50%. And that's shown by this little icon right here. And that gets reflected here, and that really boosts up my toughness, my base toughness, quite a bit.
I waited 1,500 years for this. Should I return to my slumber?
Yeah. Let's see, so... But in addition to that, I've got Sacred Harvester and Lacumba's Ornament for every stack on my Soul Harvest, which with this I can go up to 10 times. I get an extra 6% damage reduction for a total of a 60% damage reduction when this is fully stacked. That is also huge. That does not figure into this base toughness right here. Additionally, I've got Unity, and my follower has Unity, and she's got a focus, which means she cannot die. That more or less gives me another 50% damage reduction, which also is not reflected in my base toughness here. That also is really, really good, really nice to have. And basically, I got other minor things. I've got this Zombie Handler for an extra 20% life. I've got the Pauldron of the Skeleton King, which basically there's a chance, and I don't know what chance it is, I've never looked it up, but there's a chance that when I die, instead, I will just be reduced to 25% in life. This is something new. I didn't play this last season, and I only just recently put it on, but now all melee attacks against me have their damage reduced by 30%. That's helping me out quite a bit. This also is something new for me this season. This has been helping me out a lot. And last season I had the S of Johann up here, which was pretty good offensively, but I haven't got a good ancient legendary version of it yet, so I've been using this. But I'm thinking that even if I did get an good ancient legendary S of Johann, I might not give this up anyways. Immunity to poison plus its primal. This has been coming in really handy against some of the Rift Guardians. The big blob guy, I forgot his name, the one that makes those circles of poison, plus Blighter. And there is a guy who does another poison attack. I can't think of his name at the moment. And then also the one that summons up the rats. Those poison Rift Guardians are always tough for me to beat. But now, with this, they're almost no problem. I can usually beat them pretty easy. I don't have to run around avoiding the rats or stand at a distance from the big blob guy or worry about the poison death from the blighter. So this has been helping me out a lot. A lot of people use Tasker and Theo here. I don't like Tasker and Theo. Just doesn't seem to help out all that much because it does nothing for the poison darts. Sure, it might increase the attack speed of my non-poison dart shooting pets, but they do such a minuscule amount of damage, doesn't seem to matter. This basically gives me 10 free seconds of attacks when I encounter an elite, which it just helps me out so much. I really like this. I'm definitely going to keep this. I wish I had another one though, so I really don't like the chance to deal 13% area damage, but notwithstanding that, this is the best for me by far. Loser Reboot's also really good defensively. I can go anywhere on the field. I don't get trapped by enemies. I can jump into those circles from the seasonal buff. This has been coming in really handy for me as well. And defensively, that's pretty much it. Offensively, I've got Depth Diggers. 99% increase in damage for skills that generate resource. I use the poison dart that does in fact generate resource. So therefore my damage here goes up 99%, which somehow, and I still don't understand the mechanics of how this works, but somehow that boosts up the damage of my fetishes by 99%. And I just accept it and I say, okay, if that's what you guys say, all right, I'll take it. And then I've got the Oculus Ring. I can usually jump into that at any point that it comes up, so that's really nice. The damage is on the low end, it's 73%, but still not bad. And I've got Convention of the Elements in my cube, which is probably 200% increased damage while using poison skills. So that's about an extra 50% damage on average, which is really nice. Of course, I've got the Mask of Jerem for an extra 200% damage. And this one right here, this is also on the low end as far as ancient legendary strings of skulls, because my fetish army damage is only at 20% when it could be 25%. But I don't know, it's still not that bad. Maybe I'll get another one in the future. So that's, I guess, is that pretty much it? I think so. Offensive, defensively, I use this skill which boosts up my damage by 20%. The extra 30% in mana cost never seems to affect me all that much, so it's just a bonus of 20% damage. This one gives me an extra life if I die. It saved me tons and tons of times. and then the fetish sycophants, which is necessary for this
One
build.
time, I miscast the charm spell, and Sister Lysa was fawning over me for a fortnight. It was mortifying.
My poison dart, which is what you need for this build. I use the Paranado, which is really nice because it pulls all the enemies into one spot. So that gives me a lot of collateral kills, in so many different encounters, as you'll probably see. Spirit Walk for protection and for movement speed. And this is my Soul Harvest. I use the
time is passing.
I use the rune for Soul to Waste, which gives me an extra 5% increased movement speed for each enemy harvested. With 10 stacks, that's an extra 50% to my movement speed, which I really like. I could use the armor one, and I might someday if I need that defense, but this does pretty well. And then I got Big Bad Voodoo, which I think, depending upon how it's calculated, it's either an extra 30 or 45% increase to my damage. And my zombie dogs, which give me life based upon my life per hit, which at the moment is 39,000. And my legendary gems, just the two necessary ones. This is the Enforcer, increase damage to my pets, and they take 90% less damage. And I've got Simplicity Strength, increase the damage of my primary skills, which of course that's what this is. And so the damage is increased by 70%, just like with the Depth Diggers. When this damage goes up, my Poison Dart damage from my fetishes goes up. I don't know how exactly that's calculated, but I guess I'll take it. And then I get a little bit of healing when I hit with those Poison Darts. And other than I got a little Potion of Fear, this helps me out. I think that's about it. I got some farming builds here. I go with Kimbo's Gold. When I'm doing regular Nephilim Rift, I do go with Kimbo's Gold, Gold Skin, Gold Wrap, and the Boon of the Hoarder with Nagel Ring. Just to give me a little bit of extra gold and magic find during those Nephilim Rifts. And then I've got, when I'm doing a vault run, I still go with everything except I don't go with Boon of the Hoarder. I thought I was doing that. Was I not going? It's the same setup, I think. Should be the same setup, just about. I don't think there's really any difference. Oh, okay. I just switch out I put purple gems in there just for a little extra life. I don't know why I switched out some of those other things. Oh yeah, and I go with this Fierce Loyalty and a Nephilim Rift just to get a little extra speed. And then I got a bounty. Bounties are a little tricky with this build. Because when you go into multiplayer, which is what you do with bounties, you have to give up your unity. So because you're doing that, you're giving up basically 50% damage reduction. So I have found, especially against some of the really tough guys, the really tough bosses, I can die pretty easily if I lose my stacks or you know, and sometimes it's very easy to lose your stacks, and then when you go in against some of those big tough bosses, you can die pretty easily. So I go with all purple gems here. I still go with Kimbo's Gold, Gold Skin, and Boon of the Hoarder and Gold Wrap. Oh yeah, and I use my Gloves of Worship, because when you're doing bounties, you tend to encounter a bunch of shrines. Sometimes I've got 3 and 4 shrines.
Am I to stand here forever?
All going all at once. Yeah. Am I to stand here forever? And I also go with a bonus Fierce Loyalty and bounties too to get me my bonus to my movement speed. And in place of Unity, okay, I just got the Nagel ring, basically. And I usually do pretty good in the bounties. So at this point in the game, I am just rifting, trying to level up all of my legendary gems. That's the part of the game that I'm at right now. It's going to take a while because I want to get all of them up to about 90 something. Doing level 102 rifts, hoping I'll find maybe some slightly better gear. I could definitely use a new one of these if I can get one. Most of my other things are actually pretty good, so I don't think I really need anything new. I could use a new one of these, but this isn't bad either. The critical hit chance is low, fetish army damage is low, and even that base damage is somewhat on the low side too, so. But most of my other stuff is already pretty good. Of course, I'd like a, you know, either a better one or even a primal one of these, but mostly I'm just going to try to, at the moment, trying to level these up. So I'm just rifting, and more rifting. So at the moment, I've got no keystones. Oh yeah, and also very defensively, if you watch, I have her set up with this Thunder Fury. You could probably use any lightning weapon. I've just found that this one works really well. And I've got Weird Word. She wears Weird Word. So anytime that she does lightning damage, there's a 35% chance that she'll stun the enemy. And then I give her Dovu Energy Trap to boost that up a little bit more. And if you watch me fighting Rift Guardians, a lot of them, half the time they are just stunned. A third to a half the time they are just stunned. Seems to really help a lot when all those Rift Guardians get stunned. And I've got all of her items. Basically, I've tried to max out her attack speed. There's plus 7% there. Plus 5%. I could re-roll this. I probably should re-roll that to get up to 7%. Same thing here. Get that up to 7%. I just haven't done it yet. This one, unfortunately, either does not come with it or cannot have it. So, but it works out really well. If you ever watch me go up against a Rift Guardian, most of them, the only ones that they don't work, that setup for her doesn't work so well against Rift Guardians that summon up creatures, because a lot of times she'll attack the creatures, stunning the creatures. But against the Rift Guardians that don't summon up creatures, they're just stunned for a third or half of the battle. So here we go. Let's do a Nephilim Rift so I can go get some keystones.
Embrace your power, and you will survive.
Need more time.
And on average, with this setup here, I gamble with each rift, and with this setup here, Kimbo's gold skin, gold wrap, and maxed out Boon of the Hoarder at maximum rank of 50. I basically am all set money-wise for the whole game. I don't think there's going to come a time when I won't have enough money. I gamble for each greater rift, but then I make that money back here. And usually I've been making about 150 to 200 million for each Nephilim when I do a Nephilim rift. Oh, I almost forgot to give her. I give her an Angel Ring too.
Perfect.
So when I do a Nephilim rift, because I'm wearing the Nagel ring, that gives me an extra 39% damage, 39% bonus to magic find. Her gives me another 9%. So it's an extra total 48% magic find, which is pretty nice. But really, it's the gold find here. I could put a green gem in here to boost it up even more, but that seems to be a little bit overkill in my opinion. I could try it, but it's not going to be that much anyways. I think that's only like 40% or 30% extra money. But yeah, I'm looking after this Nephilim Rift. I wouldn't be surprised if I have 2.1 billion gold. Is that right? 150? I'm thinking I'm going to have 2.1 billion gold. We'll see if I have that at the end of this rift. And that's for a level, well, torment 16. Poison damage? Oh no, it's not me. Every time I encounter an elite, I get that 10% automatic protection. That's why those gloves come in so handy, even on the high level rifts.
Your day comes. Needs more time. Not ready yet. Die.
Not really going too fast right now, just kind of taking my time.
Strike at your heart.
Carry Nemesis bracers with me in my inventory. Switch them out for these pylons here to get the elite.
Your day comes.
I don't mind stopping and opening up chests and stuff here and these kinds of things. So many times I've opened up a little chest or even just turned over a loose stone and I'll pop some legendary or something.
Die.
And there's not really any time pressure in these Nephilim rifts either. Sometimes I just breeze through them, but most of the time I stop and search.
What I have trained for.
Is that what you're trained for?
Die.
There we go, see? Turned over a dead body, got a legendary. And a lot of that could be due to my 48% magic find. I'm not sure if that 48% magic find applies to turning over bodies or just with killing monsters, but... Another one. And normally they're not anything good, but
Need more time. Not ready yet. I strike at your heart.
normally those legendaries that you find aren't that great, but I need the Forgotten Souls because you use 50 of them when you reforge an item, and I'm trying to reforge my items a lot. So I tend to need those.
I strike at your heart.
Wow.
Need more time. You are evil and doesn't.
The Rift Guardian has arrived.
Already. Normally I would stop right here. I'm just gonna finish out this map.
I cast on you.
Because this place is, map is loaded up with dead bodies to search.
Finds you. Not ready yet.
Just search around a little. Lose a few, I know. Damn. I don't have enough guys out. Oh, that sucks. Lost a few. They just all ran in different directions. Oh, lost them. Well, it sucks.
The truth binds you.
If I got all 15 of my fetishes out, I can usually almost always kill those blue guys. I just only had a couple of them out when he appeared. Oh well, that's how it goes sometimes. Greenie.
More time. Perfect strike. Need more time. Need more time. Your death comes.
Your death comes. Pretty close. They're gonna do it. Dead bodies all over.
Not ready yet.
Alright, let's hit it. Let's head back.
I need to go back.
2.17 billion gold, so that was about 200 million right there. So that gives me plenty of money to gamble each time I do a greater rift. Quite a few magic items there.
Fortune favors the bold.
Been waiting and waiting and waiting for a primal item. Ancient legendary. I don't think I'll ever use it. Nothing for this season, anyways. All right, let's break them down. Gonna get rid of it. Wizard item. And last season I was using Broken Crown a lot, which basically doubled the number of gems I got, but at the end of the season I had like 4 times the number of gems that I needed for augmenting items. So I wore the Broken Crown for a little while this season, but now I'm well on my way to being able to have enough legendary gems, enough gems to augment my items by the time I have all of these leveled up. So I don't wear it anymore. Alright. It's I'm gonna give her back her weird word.
If you insist.
Okay, I've got enough for... I like to keep about 50 forgotten souls. So I've got enough ingredients to reforge my spare Sacred Harvester 3 times. That's what I'm gonna do. I'm trying to devote almost all of my resources to my weapon this season. I didn't do that last season. Last season I just... Oh, shut up. Last season I spent a lot of this type of resources on all of my other items. Like I might have done this one, since this is probably my weakest ancient item. But this season I'm trying to focus everything on getting the best weapon that I possibly can. Oops. Not to that one. This one. I want to reforge it. So I can do it. I can do it 4 times, but I'm only going to do it 3 times. I want to save some Forgotten Souls in case I need to change out some attributes or something. So here's try number 1.
Oh, very well.
Nothing. Try number 2.
You're imaginative, aren't you?
Nothing. And try number 3. Nothing, nothing, and nothing. 3 big nothings. I could do it once more, but that would only leave me with 15 Forgotten Souls, and I'm not going to do that. It is highly recommended that you reforge your spare. You don't want to reforge your main weapon, because then it might come out with a lot less worse stats than what it's got already. So I just keep a spare there, and I just keep reforging. Now if I were to reforge this one and it were to come out better than this one, then I would swap them, and then this would be my spare, and I would start reforging this one. And the idea is to get, for me, the idea is to get the Primal if I can get one. And I've also been spending my resources with her.
Are you ready?
Towards that
Yes,
same
That costs
goal.
too much.
And then if she were to have given me a ceremonial knife, which she didn't this time, but then I would go and upgrade that rare ceremonial knife with the hope of getting a primal, either Sacred Harvester or Dagger of the Dark. Alright. Alright, so that's my farming, and now it's time to do a greater rift. I'm going to start up a new recording though. I will be right back.